Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. GM's relationship with EVs goes all the way back to 1996, over a decade before Tesla even entered the game. But GM killed the electric car and lost the potential to become a true leader in the electric car. Let's take a look at the history of GM's journey with the electric car and the rise of Tesla. A true Goliath and giant story. But how will this real story end? Let's take a look and let's dive right in. Before we go back in time and look at GM's first electric car, let's take a look at where they're at today. Because that will not take long, because right now the only fully electric car GM has out on the road today is the Chevy Bolt, with a starting price of just over $37,000, pretty much the same starting price as a Tesla Model 3. Yeah, I do understand why this car is not selling very well. It's like I said in my review of the ID3, it's a great little hatchback, but it's just too expensive for what you get. Because that car is also up at that price range of a Tesla Model 3. And that is just way too expensive for an ID3. You will get so much more with the Tesla Model 3 than the ID3, or the Bolt for that matter. In my opinion, there is just no contest. Yeah, sure, between the Bolt and the ID3, they are great competitors. Two very similar small electric hatchbacks with similar specs and price. So in my opinion, the Bolt and the ID3 are much more in competition with each other than with the Tesla Model 3. And will probably steal market share from each other in the small electric hatchback segment. But I just don't see them stealing anything from Tesla. And the sales numbers shows they are not stealing anything at all from Tesla. But it's more the other way around. In the United States, the Chevy Bolt EV delivered a total of 2,498 units in Q2 2020, a decrease of about 37% compared to Q2 2019. In the first 6 months of 2020, the Bolt sold 8,371 units. In 2019, they sold just a bit over 16,000 in the US, and that was a drop about 8.8% compared to the year before, and a 29.5% decrease from the year before that. The best year of the Bolt, of course, the release year of the Bolt in 2017, where they sold over 23,000 Bolts in the US. So their best year was the release year, and they have steadily decreased ever since. So we can combine the Bolt sales number from 17, 18 and 19 and first half of 2020, and then we will end up with about 65,000 Bolts sold in the US in the last 3.5 years. And the Bolt doesn't sell very well outside of the US, so you can combine the global sale of the Bolt since it came out, and it will still not have beaten the Tesla Model 3 sales in Q3 of 2020. Yes, only the Model 3 and only Q3 of 2020. So Tesla has sold almost double as many EVs in Q3 2020, almost 140,000 cars, than the giant GM has sold of their Volt and Bolt combined in the last 3.5 years. And that is what GM have to offer. They had the Volt, that was not even a real BEV, a fully battery electric vehicle, but only a plug-in hybrid that could go 38 miles on electricity before the small internal combustion generator kicked in. But now they have the Bolt, that is a fully BEV, just like the EV1 they came out with in 1996. And many have been trying to say that there is no demand for EVs for many years. Toyota said it as late as October 2019. But even back in 1999, when GM decided not to let the EV survive. Not just stop selling it because they didn't sell it, they leased it, but when the lease ended, everyone would love to buy it, but they were not allowed to buy it from GM. People were even out asking if anyone was interested in buying an EV1 if they could get GM to sell it, and 80 people signed up in 24 hours, and there were only 75 EV1s. So they wanted to buy them all and got a check ready for $1.9 million and went down to GM. But GM did not want to sell the cars. GM wanted to crush the cars and never speak of them again. GM could have been the true pioneer of EVs, but decided to kill it instead.
When GM introduced the EV1, California was setting the toughest auto pollution standards in the nation. 10% of all cars sold here this year were to be zero-emission vehicles. But California dropped those standards after being sued by automakers.
Because it supposedly had cost GM about $1 billion for them to develop and make these 75 EV1s. Not a good business case, and probably why GM did not take Tesla so serious in the beginning when they came out with the original Roadster that had 245 miles of range and a 0 to 60 just about 4 seconds. These numbers are still better than almost every EV that had come out to date from the other automakers. And good old Bob Lutz, former CEO of GM, did not talk bad about Tesla in the beginning. He actually said some very good things about Tesla and talked with Elon Musk and wanted GM to make an EV because Tesla has just showed them it was possible to get all the great specs in an electric car. And as he said, no matter if Tesla will be successful, he will always owe Tesla that Tesla broke the ice. Later, Tesla broke the ice car.
Suddenly there was the Tesla announcement. 200-mile range, 0 to 60 in 4-point-something seconds, 140-mile-an-hour top speed, 6,831 laptop batteries. And I basically said, well, now, wait a minute. I've accepted everybody's arguments of why we can't do this. But here's this small startup company in California, and they think that they can get all of these figures.
Elon's coup was just what Bob needed to drag GM back into the race. They weren't going to be shown up by a bunch of Silicon Valley upstarts.
It was a powerful argument. So whether Tesla is ever hugely successful or not, I'll always owe him a debt of gratitude for having kind of broken the ice.
But Bob was actually the one that persuaded GM into making an electric car. It was a step too far, though, to make an all-electric version, so the Volt was a plug-in hybrid, and GM saw it as a way to leapfrog Toyota, which was their big competitor at the time, and didn't see Tesla as any kind of competition or threat. Probably also because GM knew it was difficult and very expensive to make electric cars. They had tried with the EV1 and failed, losing almost $1 billion. So they probably thought it was nice that Tesla came in and broke the ice, and it was a cute little electric sports car they made, but it was very expensive and Tesla would probably be dead within a few years. And Tesla has been struggling for many years, almost died back in 2008 when the financial crisis hit as well, and the ramp up of the Model 3 in 2018 also almost killed Tesla. They were only days from bankruptcy. But Tesla made it through and are now profitable and has great cash flow and $14 billion in the bank, and will become part of the S&P 500 on December 21st, 2020. So it looks like Tesla made it. But Bob Lutz did get the Chevy Volt on the menu and bet his legacy on this car. He even said way back that the electrification of the automobile is a foregone conclusion.
I would say the electrification of the automobile is a foregone conclusion.
And Tesla did show off their Roadster at the same time that GM showed off their new Volt. And even back then, people still got it. Those two cars were not in competition with each other. Not back then and not now.
The Volt one, I think, speaks to me just because it's practical, but that one speaks to me because it's fast and cool. Put me down for one of each.
Because today Tesla makes cars like the Model 3 and Model Y that is cool and fast, but are practical and has come a long way down in price from the $100,000. And in a couple of years, Tesla will have the $25,000 Tesla, and they will truly enter mass market and come out with a car that is still cool, fast, practical, and affordable for most people. That will make Tesla become a truly big boy in the industry. But Tesla is already today showing they have done it. And of course, Bob Lutz starting to change his attitude towards Tesla.
Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, GM, Audi, and Porsche are all coming out with 300-mile electric luxury sedans. I think they're doomed. Tesla has no advantage, no technological advantage, no software advantage, no battery advantage, no advantages whatsoever.
And we're starting to see the truth of disruption play out. Like the famous quotes say, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. GM ignored Tesla in the beginning, and Bob spoke nicely about Tesla. Then they start laughing at Tesla when they become serious and didn't go away. And then he started fighting Tesla when it became clear that Tesla could actually come in her big auto.
These things keep coming along from people outside the car business who have knowledge in some area and frankly have a tendency to treat the car business with disdain, because they say, yeah, but that's the old Rust Belt stuff, and they're still making these things in great big factories with a lot of workers. We believe in Moore's Law, and by applying the principles of electronics, we can really revolutionize this thing, and they all fall on their butts. I mean, without fail. And I hope the best for Tesla. I like those guys, and I think we would all like to see successful production of electric vehicles, whether they're ours or somebody else's. But I think Elon Musk and the guys are learning what it means to put automobiles into production. It ain't easy.
And in my opinion, Tesla has already won. I still don't think it's obvious for many people, but with the rate Tesla is growing and has already sold twice the amount of EVs to date than GM has ever produced in their entire existence, and being profitable and building 3 gigafactory faster than GM is building 1 factory that will only make batteries together with LG Chem to make about 30 gigawatt hours of battery a year. And that will only be enough for about 400 to 500,000 EVs, and that factory will not be ready before 2023. At that point, Tesla will have at least 4 factories spitting out cars and batteries, and all of these factories being some of the biggest car manufacture plants in the world, especially Gigafactory 3, 4 and 5 will dwarf even the biggest car plant GM has today. And at that point, Tesla will also be producing hundreds of gigawatt hours of their own batteries, plus all the batteries they will be making with LG Chem, CATL and Panasonic. And Tesla will be producing millions of EVs, including Model S, Model 3, Model X, Model Y, Cybertruck, Semi-truck, and the new Roadster. That would outperform pretty much any gasoline-powered supercar out there for a fraction of the price. This will truly, as Elon said, be a hardcore smackdown of the ICE car. And GM will not make more than 500,000 EVs at this point, at best. If that is not Tesla winning, let me know what is. You may not believe this is possible and are still laughing at Tesla, but so far they have done something no one else has been able to do for 90 years. Start a new car company in the US, and has single-handedly forced the whole car industry to go for electric cars, and now they are rushing them to market to show the world they can compete with Tesla. And GM has still nothing out there in the fully electric market than the Bolt. Because GM killed the Volt in March 2019. So GM started with electric cars way back in 1996 and of course killed everything EV in 1999, but took it back up in 2010 with the Volt, and in 2017 they introduced the Bolt. So GM has been in the game of electrified cars for at least 10 years, just like Tesla that started from scratch. And all GM has to show for it is one car that is in decline, even though the electric car market is only going up. And Tesla is today the biggest electric automaker in the world. Tesla has become the golden standard you are measured against. No EV comes out that doesn't get compared to a Tesla. And no one has come out with something like the Model 3 or Model Y that has that kind of range, that performance and practicality for that price. Not to mention that kind of charging infrastructure that Tesla also built themselves from scratch. No other car maker has that. So GM has not done much in the last 10 years to go electric, but that is all going to change now. Or is it? Well, GM recently launched a $27 billion EV offensive to catch up with Tesla's EV market lead. Yes, Tesla does have an EV market share of 78% in the US, so yes, it is a big undeniable lead, which GM executive Doug Perks recently acknowledged in a statement. Parks made the statement in a call before GM chairman and CEO Mary Barra announced the company's goal in the EV market leading up to 2025. The goal is 30 EV models ready by 2025 and will make about 1 million EVs a year at that point. Park's acknowledgement of Tesla's lead reveals much about the legacy automaker's current mindset and its goal for the future. We don't want to just participate, we want to lead, he said. And yes, they have so far just participated, but I'm afraid it's just too late for GM to really get back in the game now. They should have done something years ago, like they promised, continued building EVs with everything they have learned from the EV1 and the Volt, and at least done something more after the Bolt. But so far, it has only been promises. They said back in 2017 that they would come out with 2 new EV models in the next 18 months and have 20 new EV models in the next 5 years. That is now 3 years ago and GM has not come out with any new EVs yet. So do we believe them now when they once again come out and say we will have 30 new EV models ready in, yes, you guessed it, 5 years. So they always talk about all they want to do in the future, but don't bring much real into the world. And will only be producing 1 million EVs in 2025, when we know that Tesla will be leaps in front of everyone else in 2025, producing millions of EVs. Battery storage, solar roofs, insurance, and probably the most disruptive thing of them all, the full self-driving car. And many have been trying to say for years that Tesla's demand has peaked and there's no more demand for Tesla, but Tesla has just shown year after year, quarter after quarter, that they still can sell every car they make and the numbers are only going up. People want EVs. Make EVs and people will buy them. If they don't suck, of course, and are more expensive than an equal gasoline car. Just like all the way back with the EV1. GM wanted to show that there was no demand for EVs, but it was the other way around.
We were having a lunch in the executive dining room at the GM Tech Center one day, and just the two of us, and he leans over to me and he says, "Dobbles, you know something? You're my worst enemy." And I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "Well, I'm out there lobbying to show that there's no demand for electric vehicles, and you're out there proving me wrong."
Because even back then, in 1996, when GM came out with the EV1, it was already a better car than the noisy, slow, polluting ICE cars.
They're cool, they're fast, they're sexy. I mean, I got in the car and I felt like, ooh.
The people that got one loved it.
I love the car.
But now Tesla has shown they can make them profitable for the mid-size market when no one else is making EVs with a profit. And in not more than 3 years from now, Tesla will make a $25,000 mass market vehicle with a profit. And will GM even make EVs with a profit at that point? I hope so, because they can't just do what Bob Lutz said was the old manufacturer's advantage. They could just sell EVs at a loss and then make their money back on its ICE vehicles.
General Motors has announced 20 different electric vehicle models. And the thing about all of these is they can all be sold at a loss for environmental compliance reasons, and the losses on the electric vehicles can be recouped on the internal combustion ones, which are the ones that 95% of Americans still want.
But GM have a hard time just making money on their ICE cars. They did go bankrupt in 2009 and were bailed out by the government, but today already have almost $90 billion in debt again. And the sales of ICE cars are only going to drop from here on out. And if they are not profitable yet on EVs, that is not looking very good for GM. This video is of course coming out maybe a couple of years too early, because Tesla may not have won yet, depending on how you look at it, and GM has maybe not fallen yet. But I do think that in 2023 or 24 we will get the end of the famous quote. They did ignore Tesla, they did laugh at Tesla, they have been fighting Tesla. But I think Tesla will be looked at as the winner in less than 5 years and GM as a loser. They still have a fighting chance, of course, but they have killed the electric car many times before. They have promised EVs before and not delivered. They have gone bankrupt before, and even before the very expensive switch to EVs, and has already mountains of debt. Maybe they will be bailed out again, but is that winning, or is that just being kept artificially alive? In my opinion, Tesla has already won. They are still alive and stronger than ever, and every car maker is coming out with new electric cars. So yes, the car industry is going electric, and that is, after all, what Tesla wanted, to accelerate the world to sustainable transportation. Yes, Tesla won, and many of the giants will fall. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.